everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be taking you through my Inktober journey which I completed for the first time, and this is also my first time participating in it. For anyone who doesn't know what Inktober is, it is an art challenge that happens every year for the month of October where you have to create 31 drawings in ink for the given prompts for each day. And this is my version of Inktober that I'll be doing in my own junk art journal that I made a while ago. If you have not watched that video yet, I'll be linking that in the description and also in the I button. So don't forget to check it out. These are the materials I will be using throughout this challenge and also a fine liner pen. So without any further ado, let's get started. This DIY junk art journal had exactly 31 pages, so I thought it would be perfect for an Inktober sketchbook. I got super excited and inspired after watching Creative Paula's Inktober video where she did this challenge in just 3 days. If you haven't watched that video yet, don't forget to check it out. I'll link it in the description and also check out other videos from her. She's an amazing artist and I'm a big fan of her. Let's give her a huge shout out. Now coming back to the DIY sketchbook, I am prepping it for the sketches because some pages were very wrinkled and I needed a smoother surface to work on. And here comes the first prompt, which is backpack. For me, backpack reminds me of my college days when I had this very cute polka dotted backpack and I used to take things like everything you could imagine everywhere. I mean, that's what backpacks are supposed to do, but for me, it was just extra because I would carry so much extra stuff apart from what was needed on that particular day. I would just take anything with me because I also used to travel a bit back and forth, so I wanted things that I would need near to me. So this is just a simple sketch of that bag, and I also drew little things that I would take along with me in this backpack. And at the top, that's a coin purse. I know it's not clearly visible, but that coin purse was a part of this backpack. The second prompt is discover, and that reminded me of this adorable dog that my friend has. She is a cross between a chihuahua and a pug, and she is super cute and adorable and loves to go trash bin digging to get her favorite things out of there. And her most favorite thing of all is queso fresco. She just loves it, and when nobody is around, she will always find a way into the trash bin and she will just bring her favorite things back to her bed and play with it and just have a wonderful time. So, this prompt was very playful and inspired by her. The next prompt is boots, and I was instantly reminded of those fairy houses that are inside big shoes. For the house, I chose a bell pepper and added some of the details around the shoe to make it look like everything is growing inside of it. For inking my drawings, I am just using an empty fountain pen. It doesn't have a cartridge inside it, so I'm just using it as a dip pen for the nib, and I have a color palette nearby. I just filled one of the wells with stamp pad ink, which is your regular ink, and I'm just using that to ink my drawings. And I'm just using random strokes to add depth to the drawing. Moving on to the next prompt, which is exotic, I thought of drawing an assortment of spices. First, I'm just drawing this mortar and pestle and some exotic spices around it used in different cuisines around the world. So there's some lime, there's cinnamon, there's ginger, garlic, peppers, cilantro, and vanilla, and a couple of other things. I enjoyed drawing this page very much because it was an assortment, and I also tried to apply some shading techniques that I had learned from here and there just watching a couple of YouTube videos. And also, I think because this makes it pop even more because of the yellow background of the page. The next prompt is binoculars, and for this one again I chose to draw an assortment. but also added a little twist, which you will see later on. I was inspired by those frames that come with a mustache and eyebrows and a big nose, and gave each of these binoculars a different expression. I kind of feel sorry for the last one at the bottom because it looks like it's dead, but it's not, it's just tired. Because it had a rough day at work and just needs a lot of rest. So let's not disturb him. Also, while going through the prompt list of this year, I felt that a lot of these words were kind of repeated in a way. Maybe they were part of the same theme, like going out, expedition, trekking, hike, road. Just in my mind, all of them just seem to connect, and it got a bit difficult to find inspiration to draw for each of these, and I did struggle a bit while completing this whole challenge because many of these prompts just pointed to a similar idea, and I wanted my prompts to be, or rather, the execution of my prompts to be a little different because drawing the same things over and over kind of gets boring. Now, coming to the next prompt, which is trek. For this, I chose the very famous myth of Sisyphus from the Greek mythology. So, Sisyphus was condemned to roll a big boulder up a hill only to have it roll back down once he got it to the top. So, I think it made for a good execution. Now, coming to the next prompt, which is passport, I was again inspired by the classic Alice in Wonderland. And what made Alice go into the rabbit hole was her curiosity. So, I thought of creating a passport of curiosity. So I just did a little illustration with the elements that were part of the story and put Alice in the center to tie everything together and show whatever she experienced in Wonderland with her passport of curiosity in her hand as she enters it. I drew a lot of inspiration from literature and movies throughout this challenge, and I felt that it was an interesting take on all these prompts. Let me know what you think about this challenge and how are you liking it so far. It took a long time to film this whole process, and I know it's a long video, but I tried to include everything in one video. And because it was 31 prompts, each prompt needed its own time, and I did not want to rush through it, but I also had this challenge to complete in less than 31 days. So if you like this video, don't forget to share it, like, and comment, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Now, coming back to the next prompt, which is hike, I took inspiration from the Brothers Grimm fairy tale Hansel and Gretel. As I said before, a lot of these prompt words have a similar theme. So, hike is similar to trek, and coming up with unique ideas to draw was a challenge throughout this whole process. And that's why I was running for inspiration from different places so the challenge does not get boring and I did not have to draw the same things over and over. Now, coming back to the drawing, I drew the scene where the siblings discover the house of candies, bread, and cake, which is the witch's house, after their long hike in the forest. So I think that fits the theme. The next prompt is sun, and I could say that this one was a little bit easier for me to draw. I drew inspiration from some folk art and zentangles and mandalas, and at the center, I thought of adding the yin yang energy symbol because sun is a source of energy and I felt that it would go with the prompt. I really liked how this one turned out because I did not rely a lot on reference and I just felt that I was drawing with my mind. It was a very mindful exercise because Zen tangling is supposed to calm your mind and reduce your anxiety, so it felt like a good mental exercise. The next prompt is nomadic, and for this one, I drew inspiration from digital nomadism. that is very popular lately. Because of remote work, people are able to travel and also work and enjoy life. In a way, they're able to strike a good balance between work and life, and that's how I think it should be. However, I was not fortunate enough to be able to experience this, although I have just worked remotely, and I envy those people who are able to do that. Let me know in the comments if any of you have worked from home and have been able to travel throughout. And this dude in the picture seems to be having a lot of fun, listening to his favorite music on his campus van in this beautiful location. What wouldn't I give to get transported to this location? After crying in the corner watching this dude have the time of his life, let's move on to the next prompt, which is snacks. I got a weird idea for this prompt, a computer having chips for snacks and some battery juice for his side drink. I just drew whatever came to my mind and I liked the concept, but I don't think I liked the final output of this. But maybe in the future I can work more on this one and just make a standalone illustration for this. Moving on to the next prompt, which is remote, I chose a very interesting subject because I just could not get it out of my mind. I had recently watched Lord of the Rings and I wanted to use one of the scenes for this prompt where Frodo and Sam reach the Mount Doom and Gollum follows them with Sauron's eye on the tower watching over everybody. I went into a completely different zone while drawing this because as I was drawing, I was just visualizing everything that I had seen in the movie, and it was a very vivid experience. I watched all these movies with my brother who had watched it before, but he still watched it with me, and I showed this illustration to him. And at first, I did not add Frodo and Sam's silhouette, but he said that it looked very incomplete without it. So after that, I also added their silhouette to make it complete, which I added off camera. That's why it's not part of this clip, but you'll see later on when we do the flip through. Now, moving on to the next prompt, which is Horizon. I looked up a couple of references, but it did not click with me. So I thought about this. I sat on this for a couple of hours and just one image stuck in my head after thinking for a bit. And that was this house from Courage the Cowardly Dog. And what's most intriguing about this is that it always looked like the house sat on the horizon and the sky and the ground were just very different from the cartoonish look of the house. And I read somewhere that the sky and the ground were actually real pictures. No wonder they looked so different from the animated elements of the show. I grew up watching this cartoon and felt very nostalgic drawing this. Kind of went down the memory lane, and it was a very fun page to draw. I made the sky black to just add that mystery element. The next prompt is Rome, and for this one, I chose to draw albatross, and I drew them in different angles to fill the page. This is a very simple page again, but I like how it turned out. I usually don't draw animals and birds so much, but for this challenge, I picked up a few subjects and references that included animals and birds, and it was a fun exercise to draw them, and it felt like I was learning something new, which was, I think, the whole point of doing this challenge in the first place. Also, as I progressed through the prompts, I could feel more confident with my ink work and the strokes I was using, and I felt that I had warmed up to the medium, and it made me want to learn more about it. For the next prompt, guidebook, I chose to draw an illustration of a book that would open into a city. And for the city, I chose Istanbul, that is in Turkey. And I drew some of its major landmarks and drew some spectators around it, kind of taking a glimpse of the city through the guidebook. I chose Istanbul because I've always been fascinated by the Turkish heritage, history, and culture, and if given a chance, I would love to visit it. So, just one of my dream destinations that I wanted to draw and illustrate. Since many of the prompts in Inktober 2024 revolve around traveling and exploring. The next prompt is grungy, which is different, finally, something that is different from all the travel related prompts. And for this, I chose to draw this very dark, dingy, and dirty place. It could be a bathroom, it could be outside a storeroom, or maybe also some very dirty hidden place of some warehouse. So it could just be anything. All I wanted to do was to capture the filthiness of the place. This was a difficult drawing because of the perspective, and since I was only working with ink, so I just had black and white to show the depth and the distance. I have a lot to learn about perspectives, and it is definitely challenging to draw things at different angles. Moving on to the next prompt, journal. I wanted to capture the essence of journal and what it meant to me. I feel that journals are a time capsule for our thoughts and feelings or whatever we choose to put into it. And if we want to look back in time, we can always go back and flip through the pages. We usually put things that we want to keep with us forever or we want to treasure into our journal. So I also drew the treasure chest, signifying that it is kind of a treasure of intangible things. And I am just obsessed with vintage things, so I drew some feathers and ink and some old journal pages. After this, the next prompt is drive, and I figured that I am really bad at drawing vehicles. I just can't make sense of the angles and perspective, and I feel that they're just too complicated for me to break them down into little shapes. But I think a little bit of practice can help me overcome that. But I figured that it is intimidating for me to draw them. And it's always the wheels. Let me know if any of you also struggle with drawing vehicles because to me, whenever I draw the wheels, I just feel that my wheels look flat, like they're punctured or something. And it really frustrates me because I just can't seem to get that image out of my head and keep drawing and erasing and drawing and erasing over and over. After finishing this prompt, I looked up a few tricks to draw vehicles on YouTube and I saved a couple of videos to give them a try later on. So I hope I can improve with those videos. For the next prompt ridge, I decided to draw a yak in the mountains and I definitely enjoyed doing this a lot because it reminded me of the time I traveled to the Himalayas with my family and it was a first family trip for us and it was very special. It's very close to my heart and I loved it. I just cannot express the beauty of the Himalayas in words. It's just beautiful. You have to experience it by yourself. The colorful prayer flags look beautiful when they flutter in the air, and you get a very serene and calm feeling when you're there. I wish I could go there just right now. Now, for the next prompt, uncharted, I looked into the different connotations this word holds, but mostly it's related to territory. So, uncharted territory it is. I drew a pirate looking towards a ship that is probably coming from a distance, and he is ready to make his move. And where he's standing seems to be his territory, but where he's looking at is an uncharted territory. And he's probably thinking of ways to capture the ship that's coming towards him. Also, as you must be noticing now, I'm directly working on the brown pages because these pages were not as wrinkled, so I did not have to put a separate piece of paper on it to work on. And I think that the ink is working well with the grainy texture of the paper. The next prompt, rhinoceros, feels a bit random, but it's a good addition to the list. For this one, I drew Mr. Rhino clad in this awesome jacket. As I was drawing this, I felt that the rhino looked a little sad and tired. Probably he had a long day, but nonetheless, I like how it turned out. Now, moving on to the next prompt, that is camp, I drew this poor lonely ghost camping by himself in the woods on Halloween, being haunted by his own memories. That got a bit dark, but that's okay. He's a ghost, he can handle it. He scares people and haunts them. Now he is being haunted, so take that, ghost. Probably I'm being too mean to Mr. Ghost. Let's not tease him further and move on to the next prompt. For this prompt, I drew a very old, rusty metallic door, and I think the texture and the color of the paper helped me execute this idea well. And I used a lot of stippling and small lines to show the rustiness of the door. For the next prompt expedition, I took inspiration from Neil Gaiman's book Stardust. It has also been made into an awesome movie, so if you haven't watched it, I would definitely recommend it, and I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But long story short, it takes you through an adventure of the fallen star, and I think that fits well with the theme of expedition. For the next prompt, Scarecrow, I drew this happy scarecrow sitting in his balcony, enjoying the sun and making friends with a crow. And he's just chilling, enjoying fall, and not doing his job, which is scaring the crows, because he's a good scarecrow. And he makes friends with them and doesn't scare them away. Moving on to the next prompt, camera, I was again having a difficult time drawing the lenses because they felt like I was again drawing the wheels of the car and they always felt flat, especially in the angle that I was drawing them in. And I kept on drawing and erasing until I was okay with how it looked. I also drew some extra elements related with camera and filming to complete this illustration. As I was moving towards the end of this challenge, I was getting impatient because I felt that I was just close to the finish line, but I still had a long way to go. and I was in a hurry to complete it, but I also did not want to rush too much because I wanted to give all the prompts enough time so I got the chance to learn something from this. For the next prompt road, I drew a very simple sketch of a road with street lights. And while inking this, I made a mistake which completely changed the way how I had imagined this page to turn out. But I think in the end, I was still able to save some of it, and overall, I think it turned out okay for me. However, I feel like I kind of cheated with this one because I thought of not using any other material except ink, but for this one, I had to use a white gel pen to show light of the street lights. The next prompt, Jumbo, is inspired by Gulliver's Travels when he goes to Lilliput and he's a giant person there while everyone around him is extremely tiny in comparison, and even the buildings, even the tallest buildings, look like toys in his comparison. For the next prompt, Navigator, I just went with the basic nautical elements like the compass and the helm of the ship. It was very straightforward and I completed the sketch very quickly. For the next prompt, violin, I used a still life composition with the violin on the rug or the carpet and a clay pot beside it. This was the second last prompt of the challenge and I could not wait for it to be over. As I was reaching towards the end, I was also getting excited to do a complete flip through, but I also felt that I had come a long way. Although I accelerated this challenge, but I still felt that I had learned quite a bit. And finally, the last prompt, which is landmark. And for this one, I chose to draw the major landmarks from around the world. And I did not focus a lot on accuracy or proportions. I just wanted it to be representative of the idea. And I cannot tell you how happy I felt after finishing this whole thing. Things got a bit rough, things got a bit tough, but for sure it was a good experience, and this was my first time participating in Inktober. And after finishing it, I feel that I have accomplished something. And interestingly, this is the first art challenge I have ever taken this seriously and also have been able to complete. So for me, it was a very challenging but extremely enjoyable experience. Let me know how you liked my take on Inktober, and don't forget to share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. Now enjoy the complete flip through of the sketchbook I just finished. With that, we come to the end of this video. Thank you for staying with me until here, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Bye everyone and take care. See you until next time.